What's good, everybody? It's your boy Big Nate. Welcome to Big Nate's Book Reviews, one of the best book reviews. And today we are reviewing Death's End by Liu Cixin. We have finally made it to the end of the three-body trilogy. But if you haven't read them, it's alright. Hold up, don't stand because. Just real quick. There's gonna obviously be implied spoilers from the first and second books in the third one, but I won't spoil the end. And if you just don't care, like unless you're like reading this right now or you actively plan on reading it soon, or if you just like don't give a shit, then you can just watch, but this will be like standalone too, so you don't need to watch the other two to watch this. Just yeah, but anyway, Death's End by Liu Cixin, for whom we are smoking this doobie. Yeah, we finally made it. So here, let me get this officially and completely sparked, and then we can get into the book. But bro, kudos to me for reading this whole thing. This is probably the longest like trilogy or just series I've ever read. Which Obama described as wildly imaginative, the whole trilogy. So if that's not reason to check it out in itself, then I'm going to go ahead and convince you right now you should dip into this series if you like sci-fi. But okay, yeah, that's looking sparked. So Death's End was published in 2010. So pretty recently, or I guess like, dang, it's every time I say these dates, I think it's recent, but it ends up being like, that's 12 years ago. That's crazy. But I feel like the Three Body Problem as a series is, I mean, I don't even really know where it's like, I'm talking about shit like I actually keep track with this, but it does kind of seem like the Three Body series, the Remembrance of Earth Past series, it's getting a bit of a resurgence, just in the sense that like this is actually like a very popular series. It seems like it's becoming increasingly popular, and if a testament, if anything, to its increasing popularity is the fact that they are making a TV show out of it for Three Body Problem, which that would be, and it's like through Netflix and everything, and like it's confirmed happening. Like they're literally doing filming for it now. So as with any film adaptation, we'll see how it goes. If they do it well, it'll be really good. I mean, obviously, but my one thing I said about this, if anything, my critique is almost like sometimes the dialogue and everything reads like a corny action movie or whatever. But so I actually think this series would be lend itself very well to a film adaptation. But anyway, also real quick, Death's End did get the Locus Award, and it was a finalist for the Hugo Award. But okay, let's get into the book because there's a lot to talk about. So Death's End basically picks up where Dark Forest left off, and at the end of Dark Forest, you'll remember the title of that book is basically Liu Cixin's answer. Like the Dark Forest principle is Liu Cixin's answer to something that's called like the Fermi paradox, just in general. And Fermi's paradox is, I actually don't know, but it's something like if the universe is like infinite and infinitely expanding, and there's life in the universe, if there is life in the universe, how come we haven't seen any signs of it? We've been around all this time, like there's so much, how come we haven't seen any sign of life at all? So like that's like the paradox, which is kind of a stupid, but anyway, the Dark Forest principle that Liu Cixin's okay, the Dark Forest principle is Liu Cixin's answer to Fermi's paradox, which is that the universe, rather than not being empty of life, the universe is in fact teeming with life. It is actually full of what you could call alien civilizations. And but rather than like this beautiful kind of harmonious place, it is this cutthroat, savage, ruthless. So that's what so-called the Dark Forest, because it is like this dark forest where if you rustle the bushes or if you start a fire or something, if you make yourself noticed at any capacity at all, from like a game theoretical perspective, which is like a big theme of this whole series, like game theory kind of ideas, that was Dark Forest. But it just makes sense to just nip it right in the bud and just annihilate that civilization. So that's where like Dark Forest ended, is like that is the state of the cosmos, is it's like this savage, ruthless place. And that is actually in fact how Trisolar, like the book ends kind of on an, it almost seemed like an ending to the series to me, because, which is very much not, by the way. But Trisolaris and Earth end up kind of in this harmony, in this equilibrium, where it's basically like a mutually assured destruction situation. Again, game theory, mutually assured destruction, where if Trisolaris attacks Earth, we're going to send out the coordinates to Trisolaris, thereby through this dark force principle have them get destroyed. Also, unfortunately, destroying ourselves, but that's like the mutually assured destruction part. So that's basically where that left off. And then in the beginning of Death's End, there's actually like it's almost like this utopic vision of like Trisolaris and Earth together, where there is this exchange of culture and art and ideas and knowledge and like scientific knowledge and like it's truly a mutualistic thing where both civilizations are actually propping each other up in like interesting ways. But towards the beginning of the book, of course, there is a sort of development that takes place, you could say, and then we see this conflict between Trisolaris and Earth that's been kind of building throughout the entire Remembrance of Earth past trilogy. We see this finally come to a head in Death's End, of course. So there's a lot I liked about Death's End as a book, and just the things I kind of like in this book are things that have been main themes, I think, throughout the entire three-body trilogy. And one of them, like one of the big themes in Death's End, I think especially I would argue in Death's End, is this like kind of like this cosmic existential dread. That's kind of how I describe it. And this has been present since the very beginning of but the three-body problem was so captivating to me because like the fundamental idea was like the foundation of physics seems to be breaking down. There are things that are happening for which it's like literally not possible for them to be happening, and it's happening all kind of across the world. So that's just like in general the idea that something so fundamental might actually be more fragile than we originally thought. Like the laws of the universe might be susceptible to some bending. And then of course in Dark Forest there's the actual Dark Forest principle itself, which is that the universe is not this grand beautiful place where civilizations are coexisting with each other and living in harmony. No, it is this savage, dark, ruthless place where every civilizations are just slaughtering each other at the tip of a dime. I think I just combined 2, maybe even 3 different idioms in that one, but you know what I'm saying. But and then in Death's End, I think what particularly comes out is this idea of the weaponization of physics and the weaponization of things that are just foundational to our world, like mathematics. It's like literally we are like intergalactic warfare at this scale. It's not like gamma rays and laser beams and infrared pulsars, although there is all that and like some really crazy stuff like in that. But it's like low-key at this point, warfare takes place at the scale, at the level of like physics and mathematics and like the actual fabric of the universe. And again, with this theme of like existential dread, and just especially even like maybe some intrinsic nature to humans and just species in general, is I'll just say about it that the Dark Forest principle might actually the Dark Forest principle does run deeper than we were kind of initially led to believe, and that doesn't mean anything to you unless you know what I'm talking about, but it gets deeper. There's also another aspect to this kind of idea where it's just like, and this is again has been present for maybe not in three-body problem, but at least since the Dark Forest, just the orders of magnitude more powerful that life can be in the universe compared to humanity, and just like the absolute ease with which decades and like years and generations, like centuries, the ease with which centuries of collective human efforts can just get flicked away. There's something just like kind of just even in that just idea, like as a reader, there's something just kind of deeply unsettling about that. We always think that if we found life, like if we were to find something like intelligent life, it is assumed that we would be the more intelligent one and the vastly more intelligent, vastly more powerful. It would just be assumed. But we don't really think about the opposite case. What if we are at the bottom of the cosmic food chain, so to speak? And Liu Cixin just does a great job of kind of making that clear, bringing that idea right to the forefront. So shout out Liu Cixin for that. But another question I think in Three Body Trilogy, again, just in general, but also especially Death's End, is When and at what points do we give up our humanity, our morality, our values, things like that for survival? At what point do we give these things up? So there's one idea too, just about like humanity, like just kind of even at like the interpersonal level. It's shit like where I think in the end of Dark Forest it was gravity or blue space or whatever, and they went basically into space and for like an extended period of time, and there was something about space, like there was something about the void or the vastness, something about like existing in space as compared to Earth makes you fundamentally not human. Like it strips you, if you get through the other end and you're like in that, it strips you of your humanity. And there's like another part in this book too where long story short, I won't give the context, but there's this ship that is stranded for several years in space, and they very, you know, quickly run out of food, and they are forced to resort to eating like the biorecycled deceased bodies of like other destroyed ships. But again, that's the question. When the alternative is you starve and you die. So in the face of survival, what are we willing to give up and at what points? And in that case, it was not something like there's something, you know, fundamentally wrong about eating another human being, but if it comes down to life or death, I mean, that's the question, right? But so there's the but he also like goes cosmic with it, like when and at what, like for instance, Death Forest. This was the question at the end of Death Forest was, is Tri-Solaris going to attack Earth? And if they did, do you have what it takes to pull the trigger? Like it's like mutually assured destruction. If you find out Russia sent a nuke here, do you send one back? Sorry about that, but we had to do some. We had to take care of some doobie maintenance. But the question is, if they attack you, do you have what it takes to send the coordinates? Because by doing that, you are guaranteed to wipe out the Earth and humanity. As compared to maybe it could be possible to try and strike some kind of bargain with Tri-Solaris, or maybe we could exist in some kind of subservient, subdued space where we are kind of ruled by Tri-Solaris. Like we could exist like that, maybe, who even knows? But we could exist like that. But is that something we are willing to do, or is it better to just go out like real human beings? And then there's another part this time, like in Death's End, where, how to explain it? Suffice it to say that there's a big problem. There's a big problem on our hands, and there's a potential solution to it, but that solution would come at the cost of basically ceasing all technological human progress and basically preventing ourselves from ever going out and exploring the cosmos or have any kind of freedom like that. And there's a lot of pushback on this because obviously it's like inventing and progressing and creating and exploring are things that are kind of fundamental to human nature, especially when you think about space, like in the big picture of things. Yeah, humanity should definitely, like, I don't even know if anything, that might be my sticking point. Like that's when I'm like, damn bro, I don't know, is it even worth it at that? Like we should just go out like real, like go with some real human dignity. But then again, I don't know, because if it's really the choice between survival or not, it's like, but that's the question, right? So anyway, there's that. I'm not even going to talk about so much more in this book, just crazy, badass, insane stuff like I've been talking about in Three Body and Dark Forest. Here, I'll just give you one quick example. I'm not even going to give context or anything. There's a part in this book where they take a human brain, and they catapult it through space through like this chain reaction of like, I feel like 1,000 megaton nuclear bombs, and it just like accelerates, and you were trying to approach like some percentage of speed of light or something, and then they send that bitch toward Tri-Solaris. For what reasons and for what purpose and to what end, my lips are sealed on that. But just crazy shit like that, and the end of this book is crazy. We're just gonna say that, I was a fan of the ending. But anyway, overall, I gave this book an A-. I was contemplating B+ for a little bit, but no, there's no way I could do lower than A-. And if you ask me on a good day, it could be an A. But no, I say that's called give or take right there, bro. It's A-. And my problems with the book were basically the problems I've had with the entire series in general, which is that I don't find the writing particularly good. In fact, I think it's kind of at times, although this was better than Dark Forest, but I find it just kind of mediocre is too strong of a word. But like whatever that is, minus like 20%. You could imagine if Liu Cixin had like even more like developed prose and more developed writing style, and he put work into the characters, because these characters, that's another problem, that is my other problem, is characters, they're extremely one note, like to the point where they don't even feel real, like they're just there to move the plot forward. But you know, again, that's to his credit, he's not trying to do anything more. The book is about the ideas and like the story itself. It is like a, what you might call, would you say it's a plot, it's an idea heavy book rather than like a character driven one. But with a few exceptions. Shout out Luo G, shout out Wenji Ye. No shout out to Chen Jin. I did not like Chen Jin. But anyway, that's it. Oh, go check out my reaction channel, bro. I made a reaction channel, and I'm gonna react to Liu Cixin interview, and it'll be fun. But also follow me on Instagram at Big Nate's Book Reviews, and I think that's about it. But anyway, thank you for watching Big Nate's Book Reviews, home of the best book reviews.